Hi, ladies. Welcome. We'll just wait a couple more moments and see if we have a few more joining us. Okay, so let's dive in. If you're able to switch your cameras on, that's lovely. And if you can't, I completely understand. I know what that's like. I'm often juggling myself. Hey, yeah, no worries, Liz. All good, all good. So today's topic is community and community building in specifically the online space. So I'm not going to be talking too much about building community in person. That is a whole other thing. And I've done plenty of that when I've run yoga studios and, in-person events and teacher training and what have you. But for today specifically, I wanted to focus on building community in the online space. And I have a few thoughts to share, and then, of course, can open up to questions and chats. And I've thought a lot about this idea of community. I find it very interesting. I think that there are some things in the online space that provide better community than in real life, and other things that can't be replaced. And let me just give you a couple of examples. So, one of the things that I notice living in the same area, like I've lived in the same area for over 20 years, and my kids have all grown up here, is that the sense of in real life community is very robust. Like, my kids, for example, when they walk to school, or go on their scooters to school, or go to the shopping center to go get themselves some snacks or whatever, I know that there are several doors, homes along the way that they could knock on if they needed help or they got into trouble, or like they know people, they know the people that work in the shops locally. They know the neighbors, they know this person from, this family lives here and that. So there's this genuine sense of community, which is really, really beautiful and feels very almost village-like, even though we live in the city, because it's a specific kind of suburb. And you can't replace that online, right? So when people talk about not being able to create community online, I think that's what they're talking about. And what's really interesting about those types of communities, like, for example, a school community, if you have kids who attend school, a local area community, is you have to deal with those people, whether you like them or not, whether they resonate with you or not, and they're going to keep showing up in your life. So if I, for example, have another parent at the school that I don't click with, or we have some kind of difficult interaction, or if I have a difficult interaction with the barista who serves me my coffee in the morning or whatever, I'm still going to have to go back to the school and see that woman again. I'm going to have to go to the coffee shop, or I could go to another coffee shop. But you get what I'm trying to say. Like, with these people are going to remain in our lives. We don't get to cancel or ghost them, because this is life. And that, I think, is also another part of community that's really interesting. This idea that there's accountability and that we have to work through difficulties. And if you look at life before the internet, when genuine community was actually the only community that we had, like in real, I shouldn't say genuine, but in real life community was the only community we had. People were much, much better at being polite and working through problems, because we had to, because we knew we were going to see that person again the next day, right? The anonymity piece wasn't there. So that's something about community in real life. Now, on the internet, the beautiful thing, the plus point, is you get to connect with people that have the same interest as you. So you're drawing on a pool of the entire world, which is really amazing. Like, if you have an interest in, I don't know, tap dancing, you can find another 300 people who all love tap dancing. Whereas if you live in a small country town, you may not find a single other person who likes tap dancing. So we get this massive pool of people from which we can draw, and that's incredible. But it is in some ways a false sense of community because the accountability piece is missing. If you suddenly decide you don't like it, you don't want to be part of it, you want to leave, you don't like this person, you don't ever want to see them again, you can just close it all straight away. And also, in some communities online, people can be very rude, very offensive, very judgmental in ways that they probably would never actually speak to someone in real life. Trolling and all that at its most extreme. So I think there's this really interesting, like, there's a lot of pros to in real life communities, but then there's also some downsides that we might not have that much in common. And then the online space gives me this incredible opportunity to be around women whom I have so much in common with, but it's also there's a type of distance there that you can't replace unless there's an in real life crossover. And I'll say for myself, personally, the best experience of community that I have in my life, without a doubt, is where I have community online. And I can genuinely say I've made really good friends and genuine friendships with women who I've actually never met. It's super weird to even think about that. Like, for example, my friend Sarah McGann, who is a healer. Those of you in Bhakti Club will have seen her around. I think there might be a money recording of one of her money things in the Bhakti business. She's incredible. She's been a friend of mine for nearly 8 years now. And we've been on this huge healing journey together. I've been her client. And we've never met. And when I think about that, it's kind of weird because she lives in New Zealand. I really do think of her as a friend. And there are other women that, I have similar relationships with that feel very deep and very true. Edwina is a really good example. We're such close friends, but we see each other maybe 2 or 3 times a year in person. We're in contact a lot. So the best for me is when I get to be friends with someone online, because that's super convenient for my life with all the kids and everything that's going on. And then I'm also selecting from a pool of people that I know are genuinely interested in the same things as me. But also there are those touch points in real life at times. Edwina and I go and do retreats, and we do get to see each other a couple of times a year. That brings a level of accountability and a level of trust and just a kind of reality check that you can't completely generate online. So these are all the things I've been sort of thinking about when I think about community. And I think one of the things that the online space allows us to do really effectively is generate community of people who have very similar interests to us. So again, it's like the tap dancing thing, right? Like you just find your tribe, and no matter what your kooky personal interest, there's going to be a bunch of other people out there doing it too. What an amazing thing. I feel like that's so liberating. It's so incredible. So one of the biggest messages I wanted to give today in this session when I was thinking about it is this idea of do not be afraid to niche. And I think this is completely valid in all online space, but particularly when it comes to community. Like it's so much better for people to specifically know what it is you're offering and that it fits for them rather than just this kind of very broad offering. A good example actually is Edwina's membership. When she first launched her Ayurveda membership, it was a general Ayurveda for women membership, right? And it got a certain amount of traction, and she was enjoying it and whatever. But eventually, after some time, she decided to niche into what is now Marigold, which is perimenopausal women in perimenopause. And it's just it's such a game changer. It's such a game changer. Like if you're a woman in perimenopause, you straight away know that this is a space for you. Like you're just immediately welcomed and feel the fit. And like I'm looking at you guys. I mean, for example, Marion, like it's not just birth. It's like the specific nuances of the type of way that you teach birth education, the way that you teach prenatal yoga. Like we can be in these online communities as specific as we want to be. And I've seen time and time again that the people that are very specific are the ones that get traction, especially with community building. And the reason funnily enough, the reason I use the tap dancing example is because I listened to a podcast with Amy Porterfield, who I really like. Some of you might know her. She's a business coach. I'll put her name in the chat. Her stuff is really good. She's very well known. And she was interviewing this woman who had built this very, very successful online membership, and it was teaching tap dancing. And I remember at the time thinking, like literally thinking, what the fuck? Like, she's a multimillionaire from teaching tap dancing. Like, how is this a thing? Like, how do you even teach tap dancing online? Like, I'm just like, I'm not interested in tap dancing. But anyway, it's because lots of people are interested in tap dancing, and she was so specific. And I think she even had like, it was tap dance. I can't remember the details, but it was like, it was only for adults, and it was this particular style of tap dancing from this particular school of thought. Like, it wasn't just tap dancing, it was like niche upon niche upon niche. And yet she had hundreds of people signed up, and she made a huge amount of money. And the whole point of the podcast was to show that don't be afraid to niche. In fact, often the more broad you are, the more people get put off because they're just like, I'm not really sure if it's for me. Whereas if you go, this is tap dancing classes for women in their 30s who are interested in the blah blah form of tap dancing, then if you are a woman in your 30s and you fit that demographic, you immediately go, yes, that's me. If you're a perimenopausal woman who wants to avoid HRT, you see Edwina's membership and you're like, I am in. That is speaking my language. So I guess one of my biggest messages for today around true community building is don't be afraid to niche. And I worked a little bit with this a couple of years ago now, with my coach, Kelly Deals, around what my niche was and sort of like getting really clear on that. And it actually, I mean, it's one of those things where it seems really obvious once you've figured it out, but at the time it took me a little while to get there, because I've got the business stuff, I've got Bhakti Club, I've got Ayurveda stuff, and I've got pre and postnatal stuff. So I was like, they're actually all quite different, and I was struggling to get really clear on like who my ideal client or my niche was. And then I realized it's yoga teachers. The umbrella for me is yoga teachers. Now, not everyone in my business is a yoga teacher, but a good 80 to 90% are. And then when a woman comes in and she's a yoga, and women also, I've cut off 50% of the population, right? And in the beginning, I was like, oh, I'm not sure if I want to name it as women. That seems like, what if the odd man wants to come and then I lose money because, I didn't open the doors for them. But actually what happened was, the minute I said women and I got really clear on that, all the women that wanted to be in a safe female space that wasn't co-ed totally felt great about that. It's like they're really drawn to that. And women that are wanting to work with the divine feminine and wanting to work in a feminine-led space are drawn to my work. Because you might think, oh, she's cut off 50% of the population by saying women, and then she's gone yoga teachers. That's like, I don't know, 2% of the population now. And then even deeper, we could say, I don't do lots of stuff oriented around asana. I don't do lots of stuff that's oriented around sort of fitness or body shape or that kind of genre of yoga. Like, I'm even niched within the niche within the niche. And yet there's more than enough people who are interested in what I'm offering for my community to be thriving. So do not be afraid to niche. Like, having the more clear you can be around who your demographic is and who it is you want to serve, the easier it will be to build your communities. Because once we know who the people are, the question that we ask is, where are those people hanging out and how can I find them? So for me, when I realized it's yoga teachers, so obvious. Yoga Australia, Yoga Alliance, yoga Facebook groups. It's just very easy now to find my people because I know exactly who they are. Going back to the tap dancing thing, it's going to be, women who are interested in tap dancing. Go find out where they're hanging out and then you market to them. It becomes so much cleaner and easier. Another podcast I listened to recently about this sort of topic of building community and niching was a woman, and I'll see if I can find these podcasts to link to the notes. A couple of them are quite old, so we'll see if I can find them. But was a woman who ran again, this is so niche, it sort of makes me laugh, but this woman had a really successful online business and was making a lot of money. So she ran a membership for women who are wedding photographers, right? So if you're a wedding photographer and you want to be in a group with other people who are wedding photographers, that was her membership. And she had hundreds of people in her membership because apparently wedding photographers want to hang out with other wedding photographers and share conversations about the work they're doing. I don't even know, what do wedding photographers talk about? I have no idea. But these people had a whole membership to go to, and this woman built a really successful business. I'll find the podcast and I'll link it for you guys. So again, if I said to you, do you think it sounds like a great business idea or a viable business to run a membership for wedding photographers? You'd probably go, no. But she's made it work because she's found a really clear niche. So that's my point there. Let me have a quick look at the notes. Yeah, so Chrissy's saying she can relate because she does a few different things. Yeah, I think the way I think about it, Chrissy and everyone, is if you're what we call multi-passionate, so you've got lots of different interests, like you've got your perimenopause and your chakras work, and yeah, even the free diving element, all those different things that you do. It's like, what I think of it like an umbrella. Like, what's the umbrella that goes over all of those things? And it might not be one thing, but there'll be a few defining factors, like a sort of age range, maybe a gender, maybe even something like a kind of political orientation. Like, one thing I'm noticing at the moment, I don't know if you guys are noticing this, or maybe it's just my weird algorithm, but I'm seeing this massive, like really big upsurgence of new agey sort of like spiritual women turning to Christianity or going back to Christianity. Are you guys seeing that? Is that just me? No, you're seeing it. Okay, cool. And so there's all these different groups now starting up around the Christianity thing because Christianity's on trend right now. And I'm noticing that as it becomes more popular, all the divisions of these people are the Orthodox Christians, these people are the Anglican Christians, these people are the very conservative Christians that are, not liberal in their thinking at all. And then these ones are the really liberal ones. And there's all these factions, just like in yoga, right? All the different, the Ashtanga people, the Iyengar people, the Kundalini people. And again, it's the opportunity to niche. Like when you choose your thing, you get the clarity. But if you've got lots of different things going on, what's the umbrella? The umbrella is Christianity. The umbrella is yoga. The umbrella is women. The umbrella is adults. So what umbrellas can you find that fit over? And sometimes it's literally just a case of looking at your customers, your existing customers, and trying to notice what is it they have in common. Like one of the things, just as an example, that comes up for me again and again and again in my business, like I can't even tell you how often, it just is such a repeating theme, is women who do not have enough time for themselves. It's basically one of the biggest it doesn't matter, do they have kids, do they not have kids, are they 30, are they 50, are they, those things are not as unifying as women who feel too busy and don't have enough time for self-care. It's a strong theme in my niche. So look at your work and ask the question, what are the threads here? What are the things that these women have in common? Yeah, Chrissy.
Thanks for that. Can I just share quickly?
Please.
I feel like the religious thing didn't feel good to me because I think it is a big thing I've seen. We were just talking about that at the weekend, this kind of like Doreen Virtue did it years ago, and I feel like it's become more and more that. But I feel like it's softened a bit lately. Even my friend says she's seen a lot of it recently again. Mine definitely is women from all ages though. Yeah, I have non-mums, but lots of mums. But yeah, mostly busy, disconnect from themselves, stress. So mine and a lot of my messages come back to self, feel like, come back to that presence, connect to your heart again and that kind of thing. I mean, it's a bit woo-woo sometimes, I feel like a bit not too clear, and I struggle with the niche. I have done for years. And I will be doing yoga teaching, mentoring eventually as well. So it's kind of like um the yoga teachers will be there, but I feel like at the moment they're not my niche because I'm mostly doing at my retreat. I had 30-year-olds and a mum. And a lot of my yoga students couldn't come to retreat because their mums with kids doing HSC, and I have a lot in that as well. So it kind of, they're not all mums, but yeah, it's
Yeah.
a bit tricky.
Yeah. You know what's interesting in what you just said there is that piece around like, is it, I wonder if it's too woo-woo and too vague. And a question I would ask you is, what if this is an interesting thought experiment, something worth maybe journaling on or just thinking about, and not just for Chrissy, like for a lot of us. I try to do this myself too. What if you tried to explain the things that you do and the offerings that you have in a way that was really matter of fact and practical, just super down to earth? Like, and I'm not saying cut the woo out of everything we do. That's not what I'm saying at all. But just as a thought experiment, as a languaging piece, what would it sound like if I just said it like I was saying it to someone totally outside of my demographic, right? And that can be really interesting. And that can actually help you get clearer on your niche as well. Because sometimes when we're in, you know, you can't see the wood for the trees. When we're in it, it's sort of like this whole everyone's echo chamber. Everyone's like into the same stuff and we're all talking in the same way. And, you know, we're in a bubble. I mean, I think for me, I get a really good different insight because I've got teenage kids. So I just see whole other worlds that have nothing to do with my world. And how they think and what they think about. And if I think about, for example, explaining what I do to my 19-year-old son, who's quite emotionally intelligent and pretty, you know, he's a smart kid, but he's not a woman who's interested in spiritual things, then I would use completely different language to what I would use for my audience. And likewise, when my son is talking to his mates, they're using completely different language to what I would, you know, I don't relate to the
I do
word.
struggle even outcomes. Like I think it's sometimes I think about my path and how far I've come, what I've used and what I've accomplished. And as you know, I just find I don't know, I just struggle with that sometimes. Like the actual, like I was saying to you about the chakra course, like it is quite spiritual though. You're talking about moving through energy centers and how that's going to make you feel good. So it's kind of like
Yeah.
there's a little
Okay,
bit.
but hang on. Pause there, pause there. Moving through energy centers and how that's going to make you feel good. Great. Okay, that's a statement and it makes complete sense. Now, what if we were to completely unpack that and just only that phrase, moving through energy centers to help yourself feel good? The first piece there is we're assuming that in some way a person isn't feeling the best they could feel. So then we can talk about all the things they're feeling that they want to shift. Are you feeling sad, lonely, tired, overwhelmed, right? So that's the pain point
Yeah,
piece.
yeah.
And then the second piece there is energy centers, and we're moving through them. Okay, unpack it for me. What's an energy center? How do I know? What am I
Yeah.
feeling there? How does it get shifted? So you just did exactly what I was describing.
Yeah.
You used a phrase. If I said to my kid, because he's my kid, probably would just roll his eyes and go, "Yeah, mum, cool." But like if you said to, you know, someone totally outside of this demographic, moving through energy centers to change the way you're feeling, like if I said that to my dad, for example, I wouldn't say that to my dad. I'd find other words.
Yeah, and I'd
You
probably
know
go
what I
with
mean?
the emotions, the fear, the shame, the
Right.
guilt, and I'd use
So
the
this is
emotions.
the point I'm making is when we
Yeah.
actually do that and we find the other words, we get clearer
Yeah.
ourselves because we're not in our little bubble.
Yeah.
Does it make sense?
Yeah, yeah, no, it does. It does.
Yeah, it's
And I
it's
have used a lot
hard
of
to
that
do because we
language
don't
already.
realize we're doing it. We don't
Yeah.
realize that we're doing it half the time.
And on my sales page in my retreat, like I have done that, like move from this to this. And I guess it's just I guess I started to figure out, is it working? And obviously my next stage is to put it into online version and probably new people.
Yeah.
So yeah. So no, it's good though to
Yeah.
look at that.
And even if the people that you're wanting to appeal to are actually people that understand that languaging and don't need to have it simplified, just by doing it as a thought experiment in your own mind, you get clearer. It's not even necessarily that you'd use that languaging to the world, but it just helps you to actually understand what is it I'm doing here? Like what's the purpose of what I'm doing here?
Yeah.
Um, Okay,
And in terms of just so you mentioned the yoga teachers for yours, like obviously
yeah.
that is who I'm moving towards later, but do you think just staying with what I'm doing at the moment and then building more online presence and then becoming more of
Yes.
that mentor? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So
I
on the
wouldn't
right
I
track.
wouldn't go down that niche yet until you have really established your online offerings.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
perfect.
got them ready and up and running.
Yeah.
Okay, other things about building community online, and then I'm going to open up for questions. So just some other notes around this. One of the ways that I have found personally to be really important for showing up to hold space online is to energetically prepare in the same way that I would prepare if I was going to be running an in-person retreat or space. So I really do this every single time before I come online. I sit quietly for a few moments. I'm not late. I often, I mean, it sounds really silly, but I really do these things. I wash my hands, I brush my teeth, I use some oils. Like I bring myself into energetic calibration. And people can't, of course, necessarily see or feel that. Well, I think they can feel it. They can't see it in the same way they could in person, but I think they can feel it. They can feel if you turn up energetically clean, and this having a few moments beforehand, not rushing, preparing what you're going to talk about, just coming in exactly the same way, an energetic preparation that you would offer for an in-person experience, not being lazy because it's online. And when I say lazy, I mean energetically lazy, rushing in at the last minute kind of thing, is really important. That has really helped me to be able to hold space in community. Um, Another thing that I have found is really useful is to have touch points that aren't just like to have different touch points. So one way of building community, for example, is on social media. We might do some lives on Instagram or Facebook or more public things that are open to everyone. And you do build a certain type of community in that way, but it's very public. Like it's not safe because the public arena isn't a safe space for everybody. Whereas when you have private containers, that's where you get to really go deeper in terms of building community. And what I've noticed is through things like this membership, for example, or my Bhakti Club membership, is I share a lot more of my personal life, a lot more of myself. I'm a lot more open and honest, not honest, but just like there's more of me in these spaces than there would be in a space that was for everybody. So in other words, what I'm trying to say is if you really want to build community online, creating private containers to do that is really important, whether it's a course, a membership, a private WhatsApp group, whatever it might be. You want the safety of the private container so that people feel able to show up and be open and vulnerable, and it's not exposing for them beyond the privacy of a container. And nowadays, when I first started, I didn't do this, but I now have guidelines for Bhakti Club, where I ask for people to respect privacy and be really respectful around confidentiality and safe space and all of that kind of stuff. So you really are setting the parameters for a safe space. I think that's really, really important because the internet's the Wild West, like anything can happen online in the public arena. And I'm trying to think if I've had Facebook groups, for example, where I've like built community, but they've always been private to a certain extent. People have had to answer questions to get in. Like it's not just open for everyone. And I think there's a lot of value in that. So I would recommend creating some boundaries and some parameters. And then the last piece that I wanted to share around community before I open up to your thoughts and questions is what I call onboarding and offboarding, which means one of the things that really helps build community is a good onboarding process, which means when people join your community, they get a welcome email, they get information about what to expect, they feel cared for, they feel held. Any question they might have is already answered. Not just kind of like, oh, I've signed up for this thing and now I don't know how to log in or what's happening or I haven't, So doing a really careful, thoughtful, information high onboarding process really goes a long way to building community because again, it makes people feel safe. I've just paid money and now I know how to log in. I know what's happening here. I know what to do. I feel welcomed. That really helps. And then the other thing is offboarding, which means when someone leaves something, which is an interesting thing to think about, maintaining that sense of community. So really, you're always still welcome. The doors are still open. You can come back if you want. There's no hard feelings. There's no like animosity or like, why are you leaving? Or, feeling upset with someone because they're not wanting to pay you anymore, whatever it might be. We really keep the door open. We keep our hearts open, and the community remains available for people to come in and out. And some of that is about not making it about you. You know what I mean? Like if someone leaves your thing and doesn't, let's say, want to be in your membership anymore, there's probably a billion reasons for that, often financial, could be other things, time. It's not about you. And so don't take it personally and kind of feel like, oh, they've left, they've gone, they don't want to come anymore. Likewise with in person, it's the same in person. So you might have someone that comes to class for ages and then suddenly stops coming, and you can feel really like, oh, what happened to that person? Why did they stop coming? And it's really easy to think it's about you, and it's almost definitely not. But if you keep the door open, the door is open. What a beautiful thing that they can come back. I've had over the years many times people that have come to class, particularly in person classes that I've taught over many years, and they've been working with addiction. And I've had people come to class for a consistent period of time while they're in recovery and they're sober, and then come off the wagon and be using again, whether it's drink or drugs or whatever. They disappear. I don't see them because they're not coming to yoga anymore. They're using. And then at some point they come back into sobriety. This has happened more than once. And they come back to class and they feel able to come back because the space is non-judgmental. The exit was permitted. The door is open. This is such an integral part of building community. We don't create communities that are judgmental. You're only allowed in if this is how you do it. In the birthing world, I've seen it happen many times. The birthing world can be so judgy. Women that are in groups, for example, around natural birth, and then end up having a cesarean and feel unable. They've lost those groups. My coach, Kelly Deals, recently, like in the last year or so, lost a huge amount of weight. And she's spoken about this. She used to be in a lot of groups for people with bigger bodies. She really, obviously she identified as someone with a bigger body. She was very overweight, and she had various different online support groups and communities that she was part of. And when she lost all the weight, she felt like, she experienced being shunned by a lot of these women that had not lost weight and suddenly ostracized. What a horrible thing that because you go through a life change, because you lost some weight or you ended up having a cesarean or you started drinking again, that your support community suddenly doesn't want to know you. It's awful. So I've always had a practice, whether in person or online, the doors are open. Unless, I'm trying to think if there's an example of this. I was going to say, unless someone's done something, harmful. I really genuinely cannot think of an example. I mean, if someone was like, for example, sexually predatory or really inappropriate, then I would probably block them from a community, but that's different. That's safeguarding. I can't think that that's ever happened. I don't think I've ever, in all the years I've taught in person or online, had to like bar someone, knock on wood. But I would do that if someone was if I didn't feel that it was safe, that someone was being respectful. So yeah, that's a little bit about onboarding, bringing people in, and then offboarding, meaning people can come and go, people get to leave, but they also get to come back. I think that's a really important part of true community, not just a sort of the difference between a community and a clique that's just exclusionary, which is not community at all, actually. It's sort of the opposite. Okay, those were my notes that I wanted to share today. I would love to hear your thoughts, comments, questions, experiences with building community, anything you want to ask or share. Marion.
Yeah, I loved all of this. I have to say, I feel that online has been, and you've known me like for a few years now, like that move online has been the hardest for me, because I've also have this mindset that my strength is in the physical space. But yeah, it's hard. Yeah, I found like to take the leap and to find a community online. Like I think it's very interesting, all of the things you said, because Instagram is wild. Instagram is it's always changing, and it can be very defeating, I found, like, because you start to build something, and then, you know, like the minute you get a bit busier and you don't have enough time to give the love to Instagram, it's difficult. And I really sometimes also struggle, because I feel like I haven't built that connection to Instagram and to the community that I want to build in a way I want to do it. But also it's because, you know, the past couple of years, like lots of things change, like as well for me. Like I'm studying as well, um, my master of counseling, because mental health, and there is like the yoga, and for me there is a big thing with mental health, which I haven't really been able to share as much and know how to share that as much as I want to. So yeah, it's all of this was so interesting. But I love what you said with the that connection, like to the groups, when you're like in a group, because that's one thing as well. I feel that there are so many things about me I don't want to share, and sometimes with Instagram and all of this, like it's, oh, you need to share this, and I'm like, it's finding that balance at the moment between, I don't want to share that, I still want to be online, but then I know that when I have, let's say I do even like a mother blessing ceremony, it's a group of women I would have never met before. The amount of things we share, the connection, even like stuff that I share about me, because it's like, it's so natural, versus like sharing, like for me, it feels icky. Like there are stuff that I feel really icky to share. Like I have strong boundaries around sharing my kids, and it can be difficult as well with like being a business with yoga and mothering, when I decide not to share this part. So
I think, I think what you're doing, it's really interesting listening to you talk, because I relate to so much of what you're saying. But I think you're making it sound like it's a negative thing, when actually what you're describing is a really healthy boundary. Like, I can hear that you have a little bit of confusion around how much should I share publicly and how much is not appropriate, and I want it to be private. And
yeah,
what you're describing is that you're not a person who has any problem sharing in the right context,
yeah,
but actually you're being discerning about where you share and with whom. And that's called healthy boundaries.
yeah,
Like, that's a good thing. There's so much pressure with social media to let it all out, and people are there letting it all out, and I am so not here for that. Like, I
yeah.
find it actually very icky and very cringy, and sometimes even a little bit narcissistic. Like, why does this person think that everyone's
Yeah.
interested in their long rant, about themselves? um I think it's absolutely appropriate to have a slightly more restrained, slightly more private, slightly more withheld persona on social media. And I'm with you, I don't show my kids, etc., etc. But then in the private spaces, the opportunity to go deeper is really there,
Yeah.
you know.
And I know, because I've been like in sessions with you where, yeah, you shared, and also even with the vulnerability of, sharing, like in these groups, like you would share, when for us to learn as well on, like, if you say like, oh, I had this launch, that's the things that didn't work, it's for us to share. But I feel that in a social media world, like sometimes you can't do this as much, because it's like, I don't know, like there is this part of,
It feels
good, like,
icky.
yeah,
But
yeah,
it should
yeah,
feel icky. We're not meant to be sharing everything with the whole world. That's not
yes,
how we're designed.
yeah,
I'm with you. I think it's the right thing,
yeah,
I think it doesn't mean that we're not lying, that we're lying, or that we're being not authentic, or we're not being transparent, it means that we've got healthy boundaries and we're like upholding them. I think really I honestly think what you're describing is that you don't have a problem. I think you're describing that you have a very healthy relationship with social media. You understand what it's for and you're using it in the right way. And then you're also interested in building community online, privately, that goes deeper. So am I. That's great. One thing I would pick up on though too is just at the very beginning of when you were speaking, you said, I struggle with building on online community rather than in person. And I got a story going that I'm not as good online. That is a skill that you learn. It's not either you're good online or you're not, or you're good in person or you're not. It's a transferable skill. And I can tell you, I mean, I am so at ease online now. It's like my laptop is my third arm. It's just so natural and easy for me because I spend so much time doing it. But when I first started running these types of sessions and being on Zoom a lot and teaching in this way, I was much more awkward and didn't really know how to hold the space. And even down to just really small things like now, when I say this is a tiny thing, but it's a really valuable thing, and this is very much connected to building community. When I say, does anyone have a question? Does anyone have a comment? I'm opening it up. And then I stop talking. There will be a few seconds where no one speaks. And it can feel as the space holder, like there's a contraction there. Like, is someone going to ask a question? Is it going to be an awkward silence? And I have learned now to sit with that silence, even if it takes time, even if it's a while. And I don't even feel awkward anymore because I'm just past it. But in the beginning, I'd have like a clenching would happen when I would say that because I'd be like, like, please someone ask something. So even just little things like that, you just get better at it. You get better at it. You get more practiced. It becomes more normal. It's not, don't tell yourself, oh, I'm not good online, I'm good in person. That is not true. You have less practice online or less experience, but you could easily translate your in-person skills online. You may choose not to, that might not be your choice, which is fine, but it's not either you're good at it or you're not. You just get better. I mean, it's the same with like doing lives on Instagram and talking to camera. It's like, go back and look at when you first started doing it. It's awkward. Whereas it gets easier.
Yeah, I have even like I have some friends because I'm not, I will take a few takes, like when I do a story and I chat and sometimes like, I do it again. But I have some friends who have like huge following on different type of things. And they just never talk because they're like, oh, I'm so impressed when you actually talk in front of this camera because I just can't show up. And I've learned that at the very beginning. I just hated it. Now I'm like, I change it every now and then because I'm like, but I've passed this phase. So yeah, I feel that maybe
right. So you don't care anymore, but in the beginning you did. It just all gets easier and easier.
Yeah.
I went to see Gabby Bernstein a year or so ago in Sydney. She was talking on stage, and the thing that impressed me about her, someone gave me a free ticket. I went with a friend. It wasn't something I like. She's interesting, but I wouldn't like go out of my way to go see her live. Anyway, what was interesting about it was how at ease she was. She was on stage. There was probably a couple of thousand people in the audience. All the lights are on her. She's looking out at this sea of people. And literally the vibe was like as if we were just in her lounge room and there were two of us having a cup of tea together. Like you could just see that she was just so at ease with it. Like it just isn't an issue for her. Those of you who are yoga teachers and you're teaching regularly, like you go teach a yoga class, you probably don't feel nervous. You don't think, oh my God, there's 20 people listening to me. Like it's just become so normalized. So it's just practice. It's just practice. And similarly, bringing it back to this community building thing, it's not that some people are good at building community and some people aren't. It's a learnable skill. And really the best way to learn it is on the job. I can absolutely tell you that. Like that's how you learn it, by doing it, by living it. Yeah. Chloe, did you have anything you wanted to ask or add?
I completely relate, Marion, to the sharing online, and like it definitely is getting easier the more I like get over myself and just do it. But I posted a little reel yesterday at about like my kids and I, we went for a bushwalk and went to the beach, and like there was just little snippets of the kids in the reel, um, walking along the trail and like playing on the beach. And I got a notification that some man liked it on Facebook, and I got instantly, I was like, gross, like who's this person? And I just like had to really pedal back. So I don't show my kids' faces on there. I use nicknames on in like on the internet for them. So I don't share their real names either. But I just had this really gross, like sinking feeling of like, oh, did I show too much of them? Um, and I don't think I did. Like I went back and looked at it again. I don't think I did, but it is weird, that boundary. And um yeah, so I feel that with you as well. Um, and then Katie, you just mentioned something then about like holding space in person. And I remember when I was doing my retreat last year for the first time, and I was so nervous. I was like, I like, how can I do this? And it's such a like a long time, and like I don't know how to hold space for people like that. And then I was like, wait, like I do this every week. I do this like sit in circle with women every week in my yoga classes, and I um create that safe space. And it was just sort of like, oh yeah, no, I know what I'm doing. Hold on, darling. Give me a sec, please. And dealing with kids having meltdowns. But then I did have a question, Katie, around like selling your offers and talking about your offers online. Like when I did my spring reset online thingy, um, I called it my virtual gathering, and it went really well, and I had such beautiful, lovely feedback. But one of my colleagues was on there with me, and she was like, Chloe, you just stumbled at this point. Like you needed to be more um, definitive and like stronger in selling. Whereas I was kind of like, oh, blah, 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 and then blah, 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 and like got back into it, but kind of really, I guess, mumbled over it and was like, oh, like if you want to, here's my offer. And but okay, anyway. And then, yeah. And like upon reflection, I was like, damn it, like I needed to have more conviction around that. But I do struggle with, yes, I guess selling myself both in person, but then online in that space as
It's
well.
hard to sit and talk about an offering, and like that, it is a hard thing to do. So that's, good on you for doing it. And you'll get better. It will get better. It'll get easier. It won't feel awkward anymore. One of the things I do that really helps with selling is, I don't always remember to do this, but when I do remember, I do it, and it's good. If I'm doing a webinar or something like that, I talk about the paid offering at the beginning, almost straight away, because that's when you've got everyone's attention. At the end, a lot of people have left or they've kind of phased out. So I'll often say, I'm so glad that you're here. If you enjoy today's session, then I've got this offering. I'll be emailing you anyway. You'll get more information, but just so you know, this is what it is, da, 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 da. And they're fully engaged in listening. And then you can go into the teaching. And it's kind of like ripping the Band-Aid off. Like you feel like I've done it now. And the other thing you can do is you can also prep for it before you go on and have notes and be really clear about what it is you want to say.
I did, but I still was like, ugh.
Yeah, because you just, it's, you know what? Next time it'll be better. The time after that, it'll be even better. It'll get easier and better. The fact that you did it is massive. And I mean, full transparency, when I first started selling online, I hated it so much. I never mentioned the thing in the webinar or the live. I just never would mention it because I'd always feel too awkward. And then I would just send a bunch of emails afterwards. Of course, I still send emails now. But I always felt like it's enough. They'll get the email. They don't need to hear me talk about it. It's so like, that is not expansive thinking. That's me just making excuses because I feel awkward. And now I'm fine with it. And also, you know what? There's so many times when I do a freebie with someone and I actually want to sign up for the thing and I want to hear them talk about it. Like, I'm so fine with that. Like, tell me about your thing. And if I don't want to do it, I won't do it. But if I like you and I'm interested, I may well consider doing it. So I actually want to know as a consumer. I'm often really interested and curious. So maybe think about it that way, like the person listening is actually really curious in what you have to
Yeah.
offer and would like it and would benefit from it.
You did it so well last week in the productivity and planning thing, like just was so nicely woven into it. Like it wasn't salesy and it wasn't, in your face, like, and now the reason I've got you all here kind of thing. It was, yeah, like really, this is what I do and this is why I do it and this is what I'm passionate about. And, um, yeah, it was really nice. So it's cool to see
I think that,
the
for
way
me,
you
there's a
do it.
couple of things that have made me get better at it. Number one is practice. It's literally just practice, doing it lots of times. You guys, over and over again, I keep coming back to this thing about business over and over again. It's just keep going, keep doing it, keep launching, keep making things, keep selling, keep offering freebies. Like it's taken me 7 years to get to this point, like of literally showing up almost daily for my business. Like you just have to play the long game. And if it doesn't work the first time, or it's not perfect the first time, okay, it'll be better the second time. It'll be better the third time. Just keep going again, keep practicing. But the other thing that does really help is not connecting. And this has been such a big piece for me, your sense of self-worth or value with the sales that you get or how people receive your offerings. Like I have really, and this has been a process. This is not natural. This has taken time. I do not relate how well a launch goes, how much I sell, how much praise I get for something with my own sense of self-esteem. I am getting my self-esteem from other places. Like, yes, some of it comes from my business and from my community, and it's beautiful to be validated. I'm not saying that, but I'm not completely elevated and on a high if something in my work goes well. And the most important one, completely deflated and depressed if someone unsubscribes or doesn't buy, or, I have a soft launch or whatever. It's okay. I still recognize myself as a valid human being who's like doing a good job in the world, and that piece alone has been huge for me. And it makes selling easier because the attachment isn't there. You're not going, oh my God, this is my thing and I put my heart and soul into it and please book, and if you don't, I'm going to be really sad. And like those, you're not saying those words, but that's the energetic imprint. I know for myself that was what was coming across, because I love what I do and I care a lot, but somehow it's that thing. It's exactly the same as parenting, not little kids but older kids. And I've learned this in my business as I've learned it as a parent of older kids. You care so freaking much and you have to let go. It's like I am so worried about my teenage boys driving dangerously and killing themselves behind the wheel. Like I can't even tell you how much that worries me, to the point where I just want to lock them in their bedroom and they never leave. And also, they are out in the world, driving their cars, living their lives, drinking alcohol. They're teenagers. And so I have to care more than I can care about anything, and also swaha, let it go. And it's similar in our business. It's actually less intense in business than it is parenting teenagers, where we are hugely invested. We care so deeply. We want to make the money. We want to be successful, not just for success sake, but we actually want to see it in our bank balance too. And we also have to let go. We have to go, look, this is the offer. I feel like it's really good. I put my heart and soul into it. But if it's not for you right now, that's totally cool. I get it. It may not be the right time for you. That's fine. It doesn't mean the offer's not good. It doesn't mean I'm not good. It's just now's not the time, and that's okay. Does that make sense? It's such a tricky balance. It really is. But the selling gets easier when the attachment is less, which doesn't mean you don't care. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. And I think that's also, probably why some business stop quickly, and then why you keep going. Like I don't make a lot of money, because also I know that I don't spend as much time as I wish at the moment, and it's a phase in my business. But I've learned this, and it completely changed my relationship with my business over the past few years. That, yeah, at first it was like, oh my God, I have only 2 people. And now it's like, well, I have only 2, but it's annoying, but I also know I haven't done enough of this, enough of that. And it doesn't mean that it's because I'm a bad yoga teacher, or like, you know, but at first, yeah, I was like doubting, like it was always like, oh, is this because of me? But now I finally, and it feels good as well to say that. And it's not like saying this as like in an arrogant way, but I know my value as a perinatal yoga teacher, and it's just like sometimes things doesn't work. Sometimes it's also like the market, like it's weird. Like even just at the moment for some of my classes that I have in studios, October, it's usually so busy, like so many, all of the New Year's Eve baby are being born. So October, November, the past couple of weeks, I had much less people than I usually have. And yeah, I try to understand like what's going on, but I don't go by default just thinking, oh, is it me? Is it because I'm not, because yeah, it wouldn't be helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's often not the main reason, especially when people are a certain way in. Like most people won't get to the point where they're reading your emails or they've attended your webinar if they can't stand you. They just wouldn't have signed up in the first place. You know, people are self-selecting. Like for sure, there will be people online looking at my stuff on Instagram going, oh my God, no way, no thank you. But they're not clicking on a link. They're not signing up for a webinar. They're not showing up live. They're not reading my emails. Like they're not in my world, you know? And so by the time someone gets to the point where they come to class or they've been to class before or they've read your email or they're showing up your thing, they like you. They just might not have the money or the time, or maybe their mental health isn't great. Oh, there's so many reasons, and it's so rarely about us, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that with my retreat, and I feel like I've put my heart and soul into it. And there were times when I felt like maybe I was feeling that energy of like disheartened and getting, you know, excited if people say yes, and a bit later they said no, and I had to kind of let it go. And I know I'm a good space holder. I know like people love my retreats, and it's kind of, you know, sometimes I just wish I could just have people on tap just to be able to teach too, but it's not, you know, reality. And actually, I just kind of surrendered to this is what the universe has given me. And, you know, who am I to deny these 3 people who really wanted to be here and really needed it? And we went so deep, and they actually said we probably wouldn't have opened up if it was a bigger group. So it was kind of beautiful, but it was, you know, it's challenging. And sometimes you kind of like think, oh my God, you know, didn't really earn any money from that. And it's a lot of energy all year taken away from other projects. But yeah, that was, you know, try not to take
And
it.
this is, you know, this is also another part of being in business, is that you have some really great things that go really well, and then you have the things that are challenging. You know, there's still, you know, I mean, I'm still experimenting with things, making mistakes, learning, trying things that don't work so well. Sometimes things work really well that just are really surprising and you didn't think of it before, you know, and you're like, oh, okay, that worked really well. Like I'll do that again. And sometimes things work for a while and then stop working. That's also very much a thing. So the thing about being in business is it's, again, like parenting, it's organically changing all the time. Just when you think you've figured it out, or being in a relationship, similar, right? Just when you think, oh, this is good, we've got our mojo, like we're going really well, like we've figured out how to communicate with each other. Not so soon, you know? It changes. It's the nature of reality. So we're always, I mean, I find on the one hand, I love that about being in business. I love that it's always changing. It's always creative. It's always different. It's very enlivening. And sometimes it's weary. Like sometimes I'm weary. I'm just like, oh my God, it would just be so good if this thing just worked and it was just like a fixed formula. But do you know what the solution for that is? It's called go and get a job. Because then you work all day, you get paid a set amount, and it's very predictable. So if that's what you really, really want, go and get a job. And if you don't really, really want that, then suck up the fact that you're going to be a little bit having to experiment and play and be in the Leela and be in the unknown, because that's what being self-employed is all about.
It's what keeps me going. Like,
Mm.
I don't want to have to get a real job.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Keep showing up, Chloe. Keep pushing.
Keep going, keep going.
Keep
Because
going.
eventually you do get over the threshold if you go for long enough and consistently enough and you do the work, where you also will out earn the people who have jobs. You know, for me, the last couple of years, I've just got there now where I'm earning the same level of revenue as someone who has a pretty good job. And I'm like, well, this is amazing. You know, I get both. But there were a good few years there where it was not the case. Like, it's just time and energy and effort.
And sometimes you need to be with people who are like hating their job, and like I sat with a friend yesterday and you're just going like how grateful you are for like having not to do that. And also I just did
Absolutely.
my tax return for 23, 24, and I was actually like not bad actually, the income. So it's like, you know, it's a nice little reminder that, and like just being over in Bali and having my business ticking over while I'm there and earning money was really nice, kind of like the reality of where I've got to, you know. But yeah, and just a few little things on what you're talking about. I love what you're saying about Facebook groups. I've really struggled to build. I've had one for years and I haven't really given it enough love, I know. But I find that hard to get that interactivity and that people chatting and stuff. But I probably just need, I know someone said to me they just talked at them for a year until they got people responding. So I know it
I
can
think also, I think the Facebook group era is on its
yeah, I
way.
was gonna say,
I
yeah,
have to
it's gone.
say, what I find gets a lot of traction these days is WhatsApp groups.
WhatsApp groups, yeah.
They're a lot to manage. Like, I would hesitate to take one on unless you've got the time and energy. But if you want to build audience and community, a WhatsApp group is a brilliant way to do
Yeah, I've
it.
got a
It
couple. I've
really
got one for my Bondi Sunrise group and my New Wiley's group. I don't probably use it enough, but I don't know how I'd evolve that because it was really just specifically for those. So I suppose I could start adding and seeing if people interact and talk about my events there as well, perhaps, and things.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you can use it for marketing and you can also just use it for conversation.
yeah,
Yeah,
and just chat.
yeah.
Okay,
But I think I closed all my Facebook groups. I think the era of the
yeah,
thriving Facebook group is
yeah.
probably diminishing.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And with your, I loved what you said about offboarding as well. Do you actually have an automated email go out for people who leave or not?
I do.
Oh,
I am redoing it at the moment. It used to be, or it currently is just one email. I don't have it on all my programs, and I want to set it up on every program. But I am going to turn it into a 3-part series because also onboarding is an opportunity to cross-sell as well.
it
If
really is, isn't it?
someone's
So
finished a program, you can be selling them something else.
So is that not just a your database? It's actually a program rather than just if they unsubscribe from your list.
If they've unsubscribed from your list, there's nothing you can do because they've unsubscribed, so
That's
that's
what I thought,
goodbye.
yeah. Yeah, okay.
But if they finish, let's say someone signs up for Ayurveda Goddess and then they finish it, and I know they finished it because I can either see in the back end of my system and I can tag for that, or they submit homework, then they get a tag as completed, and then they can be sent, why don't you join this thing? Thank you so much for being part of it. Like all that stuff. I haven't yet fully set up those automations, but that's definitely something that's on my list. Like that's
Okay.
a next step for me in my business.
I'm trying to get a bit better at mine because I have a like I'm subscribing people just come to my website, and I also add people who come to my class onto my database. And I did have a welcome email, but it was like a generic one from Offering Tree when I first started, and I think I got about 800 people unsubscribed because it was so awful and I didn't know it was there. Bit of a booby, yeah. And I was asked them if they could find those people and for me to send one more email, but
You
Offering
can't.
Tree said
But
no.
when they're gone, they're gone.
Yeah. So that was a bit like, oh, I didn't even know that email was there, and it was nothing to do with my business. It was so generic and horrible. So I'm just trying to get a bit better at the automations to do that. So yeah,
Well, you can do an automated email that's completely written by you. That's
yeah,
just, you know,
that's
you
what I've
just have to
started to do.
tag
Yeah.
it and set it up in that way. Yeah.
Perfect. And one more thing, you mentioned about turning up online. I'm still struggling a little bit with my intuitive downloads. I feel like that's more natural for me. And when I plan ahead of time for my posts, I find that they're not really in the moment. But I'm just working on that. I guess it's something I'll just get used to, do you think? Or is it, do I go
You
with
mean like scheduling a time to go live versus just showing up spontaneously?
Yeah.
If you can do it regularly spontaneously, go with spontaneous. If your life is
Mm.
such that you can hop online spontaneously and still be quite regular, then definitely go with the downloads. For me, the only reason that I schedule stuff like that is literally time. It's like you know, I might have a download with 3 children around all asking for dinner, so that's not going to work. I have to just schedule it. But if you've got the flexibility to go live in the moment because you're feeling called, go for it.
I
Like
think I was just trying to be more strategic because I feel like I've gone quiet online at the moment, especially with my naturopathic wisdom, because I'm trying to work on this online course. And I feel like it's kind of a bit icky because I feel like it's not me. So I'm just trying to just work with that because I'm trying to be more strategic.
Yeah, well, then I would say the discipline of showing up regularly is important, because otherwise, if you wait for the right mood may never happen.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
so I guess what I'm trying to say is, if being spontaneous is still consistent, go with being spontaneous. But if being spontaneous is at the cost of consistency, then schedule, because better
Okay.
to turn up
I think it's
scheduled
the other way
and
around
not
for me.
in your most optimum than to not turn up at all.
Yeah. I think I was just kind of having the downloads, writing it in my notes, but I feel like they've just disappeared because I'm still working on my online course. So I'm not doing my naturopath stuff. And then I feel like I'm not showing up at all at the moment. So
Yeah, so then schedule it, discipline, because otherwise I mean, we can just lose whole weeks, right? How often does it happen that you're just like, oh, okay, that week just went?
Yeah, but I think because I'm trying to work on, like, I think you guys telling me that I was too sporadic and not strategic. So
So
I
for you,
now,
then scheduling would be the thing, definitely. Yeah, make it regular.
but
All right.
so still sorry, but still do naturopathic thing even though I'm working on online chakra course. That
Do you mean still show up and talk about your naturopathy? Yeah, I mean, when I'm in launch mode, I tend to only talk about the thing I'm launching. But if behind the scenes you're working on your chakra thing, but you want to be promoting naturopathy, of course, you can talk about naturopathy. No one knows or cares what you're working about privately.
Yeah,
You just have to do the channel switch in your own mind to deliver that content.
cool. Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
All right. Have a beautiful day, everyone. I'm going to pack more boxes. I've got to be moved by the end of the weekend, so it's
Good
epic.
luck, Katie.
Thank you. See you
Big.
guys.
Bye.
Take
Bye.
you.
Talk to you soon.